It's nearly time to say goodbye, and I've got something to tell you, which is it's probably on a par with chocolate. It's ice cream. At 4 o'clock, a lot of people are going to have to leave to catch their planes and go or drive home or whatever. And the rest of you are most welcome to stay and enjoy a cup of tea and maybe some ice cream. I've got a little bit of housekeeping before I introduce our next speaker. A lot of people have been asking me about the videos that's being made of the whole conference and when will that be available, how will it be available. Well, it's going to get edited down a little bit, and it's going to be available on the Landcare Trust website, and they're going to inform all the participants here when it's up, how it's up, how long it is, whatever. And so look out for that. That's the answer to that question. And from my point of view, I've had a wonderful time here. I've met some amazing people. I've learned a lot. And yeah, it's been great. I just want to thank the AV guys who are here for doing an excellent job. Really good. Great. You know, there's nothing worse than having no sound and sort of running around trying to find out what's wrong. You did a really good job. Thank you very much. Also, Shayla Lee Workman, who should really be called Workwoman. She's a super mum as well as, and she's been helping me a hell of a lot with just getting through this process. And Kate as well, who's been a fantastic organiser of this conference. So thank you guys very much. And thank you all for coming, and I hope you go home enlightened. I think that's the best thing you can have when you go to a conference is learn something, enjoy the people, enjoy the camaraderie that you build up. For me, it's been great, and it's time to say goodbye. And I'm going to ask George Matthews if he could come up and give us a few words of wisdom as he did at the opening.
Kia ora no tātou anō ngā wana rangatira o te motu. Kua tai mai nei I runga te karanga o te ao. To the prestigious families gathered here today, I mihi to you. And those of you who've gathered within the call of the last 2 days, I mihi to you. Glasses. What an exciting couple of days it's been. Like John has said, you know, we've all been exposed to some very, very interesting people. A couple I sort of yawned as I walked away from them, but the rest of them I felt privileged to have stood in their company, stood in their shadow. Wasn't it interesting though that just this afternoon we had a light-hearted couple of ladies here jumping around full of excitement, compared to the dark cloud that came over the stage yesterday afternoon called climate change. And I sat there and I felt the tension screwing up inside me. You know, as Guy Salmon was at one end and doomsday wasn't coming. And it just reminded me that we're all born with 2 ears. But often we only listen to what we want to hear. So when that little dark cloud blew away yesterday afternoon, I thought, George, you've just got to tune up both your ears. There's 2 sides to every coin, and they were both being spoken about there yesterday. No one was right, no one was wrong. I just judged them by their tone and what they said. Okay? In between my 2 ears, there's a little bit of fuzz, and that's what I've got to keep engaged, especially when my mouth starts running. Because there's nothing worse than somebody just running at the mouth with their brain turned off. And we've all stood in the company of people like that. But that wasn't happening yesterday. It was just me. Because we've all got garbage, we've all got culture, we've all got things that when I spoke yesterday about growing in the shadow of our parents, we're impacted with their values and things like that, and we reflect our opinions, and our conversations reflect all that garbage that we carry in everyday life. And it's being able to discern what we want to carry as our values, listening to other people speaking, and being able to walk away and think, well, maybe I've just got to change my mind a little bit after listening to what he or she said, and be big enough to take on board that new perspective for your opinion. I'm not going to stand here and preach the gospel according to George, and nobody in the last 2 days, I think, has done just anything like that. It's been very, very open. The word truth was just been kicked around a little minute ago. Truth without integrity, though, is pretty shallow truth. And somebody that will tell you, look, I'm telling you the truth, brother, is usually holding something back so they can control you later, knowing how much information they've given you and how much they know. They will be able to just leg trip you, do the little fox terrier thing and nip you on the ankles when they want to, and things like that. But folks, I'm going to ask a question because I'm doing a little poll, the Scarlatti thing here. Just put your hand up, please, if you'd like to come back and sit in the same company, in the same venue, probably the same time of the year, in a couple of years' time. Now that's a good reflection. I'm not going to count your hands or anything, but that's a good reflection of the ability of the organisers, those people in the back there, over here, and yeah, that is more than filling out any bloody form, popping the tui cap off a bottle and throwing it in a bucket or anything like that. Thank you for that feedback. Folks, everything comes to an end though. It really doesn't, and this just happened to me probably 6 weeks ago. I've got 2 grown sons. Well, my wife and I have 2 grown sons. And it happened on a Saturday morning that Dad was sitting in his seat on the veranda looking at the horizon, and there was the oldest son and little brother sitting beside him. And I'd had a bit of paper because I'd started writing down. You get to my age and these sort of judder-bars of life showing to this degree, there's not a lot in front of me, and you start thinking about dying. And I'd written down what I thought would be a very appropriate thing to go on my tombstone. And here were my 2 sons. Their mother went inside to make a cup of tea or something, and I said, look here, boys, I've got something I want to show you. What's that? And I said, this is what I'd like on my tombstone. And I passed it to the oldest son. The young brother is looking at the floor. Big brother looks at my bit of paper and there's silence. And he looked at me and said, Dad, if you die before Mum, I'm going to be talking to Mum about this. Little brother is saying, what's he written? What's he written? And what I'd written was, don't take life too seriously, because no one gets out alive. We've had a really good time in the last couple of days, and the show's over. Okay? As Māori, we're right into whakapapa. We love whakapapa. Think about yourself right now and where you fit into this whakapapa, this genealogy, because this is the genealogy of the whole realm of nature on this planet. And it goes like this. I'll say it in English. From birth comes growth. From growth comes maturity. No, sorry. From conception comes birth. From birth comes growth. From growth comes maturity. From maturity comes decay. And from decay comes death. Now, when your hair's falling out of your head and it grows out your ears and your nose, you know you're on the slide. You really do. But you have to accept it. And you soon start to think, well, we're not going to do everything. And that gets back to what I was trying to say yesterday morning. We only have today in our time to do the things we want to do. So think very carefully about how vulnerable we are and just who we might be able to help. Most of you probably don't know, but I've spent a lot of time paddling down the Wanganui River with, started off as an R&R booze trip type of thing in my 20s, and it's moved into a tourism business. And it died 2 years ago with COVID. 85% of our business was American and European universities. And of course, when the new legal status of the Wanganui River came into being, a lot of people, mainly universities, were coming to meet these people, these Wanganui Māori, that said they were part of the river and the river was part of them. And then COVID stopped it all. But in that time on the river, I've learnt to read the water. And there's times in the middle reaches there where the river's getting fairly big, and you'll be in gorge areas and you'll see a beautiful little waterfall just tumbling down the cliff face into the river. And everyone goes, oh, wow. But what's actually happening is that little tributary, that little waterfall is giving itself to a greater good, the Wanganui River. You paddle past big rivers coming out of the back of Taranaki, the Ohura, the Whangamomona, the Tangarako, all big rivers. And they're giving of themselves to the Wanganui. And they all turn right and it heads out towards the coast. People have stood here on this stage in the last 2 days and given of themselves, empowering us, encouraging us, telling us why they did it this way and why they did it that way and what they could do with more help in this area than that area. Even the minister stood here yesterday and appealed for help. So that's the sort of empowerment we have as a collective group. As you walk through your life tomorrow, look for somebody to share your life with, just like, and who you might be able to give it to. Think of the teachers that stood in front of you in school, at varsity, or wherever you had your higher education. After I left school, I enlisted at the night school at the local hotel, and it was every Friday and Saturday night, and I'd go there, and I had tutors by the name of Jim Beam and Jack Daniels, and there wasn't much problems they couldn't fix in my life. I remember there were a couple of brothers there. One was Seeger, and he had another brother, their surname was Gin. And I walked through life with them for a while, and I really enjoyed it because physically I could shear probably 120, 130 sheep a day, but hang out with those guys and I could do 200 with one hand behind my back even. So yeah, they were empowering sort of guys and tutors for me. So again, for me to have the opportunity to sit with some of the intelligence that have shared their experiences with us, we're very, very lucky. When I'm on the river though, the big trick of paddling a canoe is following the bubbles. Because wherever the bubbles are, and they're usually in a line, is where the main current is. And so there you are, you're floating down the river, Everyone's taking shortcuts, but because the river's swinging right out on the left-hand side of something, everyone's paddling through here, but they're paddling against the current because of the backwash is pushing up. Sometimes you even see whirlpools, and you'll see twigs and leaves and branches going round and round in circles. As you walk through your life, you will see people stuck on the sidewalk, the pathway of life, the roadway of life. They might be your brother, your sister, your cousin, a mate that you went to school with, and they're going against the current of life. Call out to them. Put your hand out to them. Say, bro, cuz, mate, come and hop in my walker for a while. Come and paddle with me. I'm in the main current. If you see them going round and round in a whirlpool in their life, tethered to a bloody marijuana bush or something worse than that, put your hand out. Just like the people that have stood here in the last 2 days, they put out their truth to us and their offer of friendship, love, and things like that. So, folks, I've got to stop talking, but I'll just close by saying, you know, that river, any river, it slowly gets bigger as these other rivers contribute to it and the streams contribute to it and the life force within it and the fishery within it, trout, salmon, it doesn't matter, or tuna, whatever. And then one day, and the river gets quiet. It gets a little bit surly. It doesn't turn around sharp corners anymore. It doesn't bounce down rapids anymore because of just the sheer size. And it's just chugging through life. It doesn't know what the hell's around the next bend of the river of its journey. And it can feel a force coming against it. And the river thinks to itself, what the hell is this? Worse than that, whatever he does, this force is really pushing against him. It actually stops him in his tracks and it starts pushing him backwards. The very existence that he's lived with and grown up with, a medium called fresh water, is actually changing. His whole being becomes estuarine. And he's pumped up. He's thinking, what's going on here? He doesn't know what's happening. And then the moon passes over and the tide rushes out and he rushes out over the bar, the confluence, into an ocean. He's moved beyond our comprehension of what a river is and his own comprehension. He hasn't got a left bank, he hasn't got a right bank. He's not a body of fresh water moving in one direction anymore. But I tell you, the millions and millions of years that that Whanganui River's been running over that bar, it's all out there still. It's all out there. But his whole being has changed. He's now saltwater. He's giving life to other types of life, saltwater fisheries and things like that. As we get older, as we get on that last straight, heading towards the demise that we don't want to admit is coming, you'll feel things push you back. And it might be just not feeling well. It might be just, gee, I haven't got the strength I had 20 years ago. I can't carry that chainsaw around like I used to all day. Hell, I had to stop playing rugby when I was 31 because the impacts on Saturday I was still suffering from on Tuesday the next following week. So life changes. Be ready for that change. And guys, let's all rendezvous, in a couple of years' time perhaps. Some of you are probably expecting me to say a karakia. It doesn't concern me whether you expect me to or not. I'm not going to. What I will do, though, is I'll speak directly from myself to you. If you want that message to go through a third party, whether it's Yahweh or Muhammad or Buddha or Jesus, doesn't worry me. But this is me talking to you. And it's simply this. I ask that the light of the sun bring sustenance to your body as you stand in the world tomorrow. I ask that the rays, the light of the moon tonight, strengthen your bones as you rest in order to stand strong tomorrow. I ask that the four winds of Tāwhiri Mātea bring strength to your inner being in every breath you take as you stand in the morrow. I ask that gentleness be in every handshake that you make to everyone that you meet tomorrow. I ask that where you walk more gently upon this earth, she who provides for all of us as you walk through your life. I ask that sincerity and truth be in every word that you speak to whomever you speak to for the rest of your life. These things I ask for you. Tēnei te kōrero ki a koe, te kōrero a George Matthews. Komotu. Kia ora, folks.